and welcome back. Today is our first installment of the Spring 2021 MBA Student Association Engagement Series. It's a new year, but we maintain the same mission, building networks and building careers. Our officers have been hard at work to bring you all opportunities to engage and grow. Be sure to follow our IG, join our GroupMe, and engage with other members. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jamie, today's moderator.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Dietrich. I'm the treasurer for the MBA Student Association and was formerly the relations officer. Today we're going to be discussing the essentials of project management, and we have two esteemed guests that will be joining us. So let's get started with their introductions. Dr. Zelbst, would you like to start us off by introducing yourself and providing a brief background, and then Julian, you can follow right behind.
Hi, I'm Dr. Zelbst. I am a professor at Sam Houston State University. I am in the supply chain management area. I teach primarily project management, the management of innovation and technology, as well as quality. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I'm invited here. I was also one of the essential people when we were developing the MS and project management program. I do hold a PMP, and I'm very involved with the Project Management Institute as well.
Thank you. And Julian?
Hi, I'm Julian Garcia. I went to SAM back in 2013 and attended Dr. Z's class. She introduced project management to me, and I just fell in love with it. I have a MS in project management. Just last year, I attained my PMP certification, so that was great. I've been working with 3 different companies just because of the different markets, but in any case, I've been doing project management in some form or fashion across them. And now the company I'm with now, Westlake Chemical, I'm strictly a project manager over here. So I was in the military for 4 years, so that's where I have some of my skill sets, trying to do, provide leadership, and then relationship management is really huge with when it comes to PM. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for volunteering your time and expertise. We're extremely thankful for your support of our organization and our graduate students. So we'll go ahead and get started. First, I want to define project management. So Dr. Zelbst, would you like to give us a brief description, and then Julian, you can add any comments.
I'm going to give you the formal definition of what a project management is. It's a one-time unique event with a definite beginning and ending, and it has specific goals and objectives in mind. In other words, you do projects all the time, you just really don't understand the definition of it. You know it innately, but when you start thinking about it, it might be a little bit confusing, but it's not the ordinary work that you do from day to day. It's the specialized work that you're called to do on projects that are going to help with your company, either compliance projects, strategic projects, R&D projects, or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I would say as a project manager, I think a very key attribute there is managing relationships. You have to have a very good emotional intelligence, because you don't want to dictate or put too much pressure. You never know what that person has gone through that week, that day. So you need to realize that and just manage that relationship, get them on board, get that buy-in. You always need the buy-in, and then everything will go smooth. You have your hiccups here, but that's just the normal functioning of a team. But you also want to make sure that everything progresses on time, within budget and in scope. Sometimes that scope creep gets in there no matter what, but, as a PM, you just do your best, and sometimes it's not up to you, right? You have leadership that say, well, we want this now. So you just got to manage that. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I would add about a project manager is that communication skills are essential, because a project manager spends probably, I would say in excess of 90% of their time communicating. So they're very, very important.
Yes, I would agree, yeah.
Perfect. So our first couple of questions are kind of based on student perspective types. So Dr. Zelbst, for our students who are interested in pursuing a career in this field, what skills should they focus on developing to help them be competitive in the job market? And you just mentioned communication, but
Yes, as I said, communication is essential, but Julian has touched on the other vital parts of it, the relationship management part, being able to coach and understand that people are going through things, because there's a lot of pressure when you're managing a project. It's not as simple as one would think, because of what you're involved in. For example, if you're involved in a compliance project, what you're essentially saying is that if we don't come into compliance, our company could go under, or they could be shut down for a period of time. So it's essential to understand the individuals that are working for you and how they work so that you can best manage them.
Great. Well, Julian, a second ago, you were talking about you just recently received your PMP certification. Can you talk about certifications for us and tell us how important it is for students interested in this field to get that specific certification, or if there's others that you recommend as well?
Right. So for me, it was just a goal of mine that I had to really earn that and, just grow my knowledge within the PMI space. And the PMP certification will help you gain a better understanding from a methodology standpoint. There are various methodologies in PMI, so I was just trying to focus in on PMP. When it comes to the workforce, nowadays you need, I don't say you need a master's, but you just find that to better market yourself, if you have certifications, you'll always find that fine print. It's not a must, but it would be nice to have. So it'll definitely give you that edge. It brings your resume up to the top a little bit. So I didn't have my PMP when I moved to this company, but I was talking to my manager now. I worked with him. He was one of my clients on my previous company, so he knew what I was striving for. But I would say that it is good to have that certification under your belt, especially with the tough market conditions we're facing.
I would add that there are several certifications. The PMP is considered the top certification, but currently there is another one. It just started in 2020, and it's called Project Management Readiness. And it is for those people that really don't have a background in project management, so they can't go get the certification, because you do have to have a certain number of work hours to qualify to sit for the PMP and some of the other certifications, as well as educational hours. So it's not an easy certification to get. The test is very difficult and takes some time to prepare for. So, but this PMP readiness, this project management readiness certification gives people a leg up that don't have that background, because they can go to pmi.org and look under certifications and find the link there. And there is no educational requirement for it, because what they do is they put you through a series of courses, and then at the end you take the certification for the readiness, and that takes you a step closer to getting into some of the other certifications, such as the PMP or the CAPM, or possibly the risk, project risk certification as well. There's probably around 8 or 9 certifications that you can get through PMI.
Wow, I didn't know.
That's a good point, Dr. Z. I think if I could add just one more thing to that is, if you have some knowledge as for what the company is focused in, meaning like IT projects, when you're doing software development, they are more focused on what's called agile. So your PMP would be great, but you probably want to look at the agile certification if you're trying to go more in that direction. And that'll, so sometimes a specific certification, does matter. So if you do have that insider are able to ask, you might want to, go in the different directions based on what that company is focused on.
Great. Well, Dr. Zelbst, we also wanted to ask, who benefits from taking a project management course and why? So if you're an MBA major, do you benefit from taking a course in project management, or is that
Absolutely.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Project management is very versatile, first of all. It fits into every industry that's out there. It's not restricted to just IT or oil and gas. It cuts across every industry. It's a skill set that's widely sought after right now. I tell my undergraduates, because I teach it at both the undergraduate and the graduate level, and I tell them all the time, put the project management class on your resume. And inevitably, I will have somewhere around 5 or 6 of them that will contact me after the semester's over, and they'll tell me, I followed your instructions, I did that, and because I did that and I could talk the language when I went into an interview, I got the job. So it's very important for people that are starting out, but it's also for people that are out in the workplace. It's extremely important because of the skill sets that it brings to the table. We go through tools courses that have any number of tools in there that you can use to analyze situations that you're having to assess. And we go through a quality class that provides more tools there. So there are a lot of benefits in seeking the project management degree. But there are a lot of benefits in just taking some of the classes as well. As I'm sure the MBA students know, I teach a lot of the electives out there for the MBA. And the reason is because our project management program, those courses serve the MBA electives very well. They're not just for the project management students, they are for the MBA students also. So I would say that, yes, it will benefit you in the immediate future, but as well as in your future as you move through your career.
So, well, thank you. Julian, I want to talk about the 5 stages of project management. So initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and control, and closure. Yes, I did some reading before. Can you walk us through a project of yours that you're most proud of and just tell us some details about it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, a big one is we went through a globalization project. So the scale, just the complexity of that is very big. So it involves every level of the company, every department, from IT to legal to audit, even the different, we call them centers of excellence. So HR department versus payroll department versus, all these different sectors. It touches them all. So in initiation, you've got to pull those documents together, get everybody on board and give the background as to why, so you can really pull the teams together. You need to really get in depth in that planning, and it's not just one meeting, so you're going to have lots of meetings just to get the planning stage down. You need to navigate between the conflicts of what you have in your everyday work. So this is a project that's a one-time event. Well, you still have your day-to-day to work through. So managing those conflicts there, because, if you're running, so I'm in the HR space right now, but I'm on the information system side. But, you go through performance time and your managers are, spending time doing performance tasks, but you still got to have them carve out time, right, to plan. Then that still goes into legal because you're looking at going international. So you have GDPR, which is the Global Data Privacy Act with the European countries. That's huge. Now that alone set us back 6 months than what they had originally planned. We thought we were in one area in one phase, but as time progressed, the government changed their policy, so then we had to relook at the policy. executing, you start implementing these changes and you start finding these hiccups and you start testing everything. And then you find out that not all the requirements were found out. And as much planning as you want to do, sometimes you don't know until you start, putting in that test environment and say, oh yeah, we need this. We didn't tell you that? Well, no, but here we are. So now we got to, figure out the solution for that. Monitor and control, right? It's an iterative nature, so it repeats itself because you're testing, fixing. You have change management of change requests. So to like that scope creep, I'm telling you, leadership changed their minds. I don't know how many times, and that's not. You got to do what they want, right? You got to develop that and put out an output that, even if they change their mind, then so be it. Because we're an internal organization, meaning we're not a service company. You're not charging that time, so the cost is really soft dollars because everybody works for the company. And then finally closure. So we're right now we're still closing the project. We have some things open because we found that. Okay, we can't delay the go live any longer. So we know we can go live today, but we need to save some stuff after. And right now we're working on the things that are after that weren't so critical to go live. That I would say was very fun, frustrating, long hours, communication across. You're talking about France, Spain, Mexico, Italy, So just the language barriers, the cultural differences, the time zones. It was a huge project, and now we're going on to another phase of that project, and where it's involving two countries that they're not fond of each other, so we have to be very careful in navigating those waters. But yeah, so it's a very interesting, good time to be where I'm at with the company, because it's just a huge learning opportunity. Not everybody goes through a globalization project, or if they have, they've already done it, so it's really a timing thing. I would say this is one of my biggest moments right here.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Dr. Zelbst, has there been any changes that you've witnessed in the evolution of project management that were unexpected?
I wouldn't say necessarily unexpected. Now, there are some big changes that are coming here. Well, it's going to be in the next 60 to 90 days. One of the things that happens with project management is they are always trying to evolve to fit the world today. And so they're getting away from such a rigid structure. They're using more of things that we learned in class, like building teams, doing things like, let's say, the relationship management, those kinds of things, rather than focusing on this hierarchical structure, this matrices that they have, which has the 10 knowledge areas and the 5 process groups and all of the 49 processes that fit in there. And so they're getting a little more flexible about things, which is really interesting. And given the world that we're in today, I can understand why they're doing that. There are new ways of doing projects. I won't say new ways. There are a variety of ways of doing projects that were not really talked about much when you were so focused on this structure. And Agile has been around for a while, but other approaches that have been around that haven't really been highlighted are coming to the forefront now, such as waterfall, stage gate, those kinds of ways of managing projects.
And Julian, tell us, what is one thing you wish you knew about project management before getting into the field?
So one thing I wish I knew is it just depends on the company, right? So the company I'm currently in, they created my role, my PM role. So it's the PM as a field is new to them, that like to have a central location. Where IT companies don't have a PMO, right? So it's not foreign to them. So just to know that even though everybody does projects, some companies still have, so the managers still run the projects, and they'll run them. They may be organized in however they organize to run it, which works, right? Because they still execute. But just to know that sometimes some companies don't have that formal PM role setting can lead to some difficult situations and conversations and trying to explain, the benefits of it. And, I've faced that at this company for, a year or two now. I've been here 3 years, and I'm still trying to educate, and they see the benefits, and it's great. But it's, when you graduate and you go work for a company, you just have like this perfect picture, and that's not there. So you just got to be patient and then just prove yourself, and don't give up.
I think that applies to all fields.
Yeah.
So Dr. Zelbst and Julian, this next one is for both of you. Dr. Zelbst, if you want to go first, what attributes separate a good project manager from a great project manager?
I would say primarily the ability to listen and to communicate. That would be my number one message to any future project manager, is that you really have to concentrate on that. You have to build those skill sets. And, some of us are just born natural communicators, but some of us have to learn it. And so it's a little bit difficult for some people to get there. I would also say that project management's not for the faint of heart. So if you are not good under stress, it's probably not the field for you. But if you operate well under stress, then you're probably going to be okay there.
The gift of gab is what you would say, Dr. Z. Being able to, be personable, right? I would also just add a comment is follow up and follow through.
Yes.
That's real big. So take notes. If you're in the meeting, take meeting minutes if you can. If you're the one leading it, then try and get someone to do that for you, because a lot of times you will need to refer to that. And then if you say you're going to do something, you better follow up and follow through. If you've asked somebody else to do something, be very specific and set a target date. If you don't set a target date, they'll just say, I told you I'd do it. Okay, well, now you're in a tough situation because now you're applying pressure. So follow up and follow through is huge.
So I was thinking about what you just said as you were saying it. So Julian, how do you establish the right team, and what are some elements a team needs to be successful? I know we've talked about a lot of things, but is there anything that you would elaborate on?
Sure. If everything's in your control, you try and pick something that's diverse, a team that can be flexible. Perfect organization is there's a matrix organization, but ultimately, within an organization, you just have team leads. So I need, hey, I need to get IT involved, and so that IT manager is like, okay, well, so and so is going to do that. So you get what you get. So which isn't always negative, right? So people, they want to work. They're working. They're going to be personable, but you always have some of those people. But I would say diversity, if you can pick it, try and get the experienced ones. But the only way to get experienced ones is, they need to go through it. So give people the chance. Trust up front.
Yes. I would add just a bit to that because we're talking to students. Students sometimes don't understand the difference between group work and teamwork. And what Julian is talking about is teamwork. When you're in a classroom and a professor tells you that you have a project, primarily what you do is group work, because you get together, you divide everything up, and then you go your separate ways, and you hope it fits together when you come back, okay? And with a team works side by side. They're working together towards that goal to achieve whatever the deliverables are for that project. And so it's a very different concept than maybe what students call a project. And so that's a very important differentiation to make for people that are thinking about going into this field. The other thing that Julian touched on is that you don't get to choose your team. And Julian will attest to this because he's been my student. I don't let anybody pick their teams. And that is the reason, because when you are in the workplace, you don't get to pick your team. Your team is picked for you.
Yeah.
And Julian, do those teams rotate? Are you with the same team project after project, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. So that's a yes and no. So depending on what the project is. So if I'm on the system side, so whenever we're doing system enhancements, our HR systems team is the team to do it. So it just depends on what area you're impacting. So if IT is involved, then, they'll be on the team. If IT is not involved, then they won't be there. So then it just depends on what area is being enhanced. Meaning if it's a benefits enhancement, then someone from the benefits team is assigned versus like payroll. So now you're looking at a payroll project. You won't have a benefits team. You may have some testers, right? Because they'll need to see that the updates, don't change what benefits are being, charged to the employee. But it's typically the same. It just rotates in a sense of who's impacted.
Gotcha. Well, this next question is actually to either of you or both of you, so I'll let you choose who wants to go first. So is it difficult to switch from managing projects in one field, such as IT, to another field, such as construction? What are the differences and challenges to managing projects across multiple industries?
Well, that's an interesting question, Jamie. Projects, if you're trained as a PMP, you're probably going to be able to go into another industry and run a project. The key is going to be learning the terminology for that project and understanding what it is that particular industry is looking for. So there are some differences in looking at the project in specific industries. For my main skill set is managing R&D projects. It's not the same skill set that Julian has, because Julian has just told you he's on the IT side. And while it's a new thing that he's putting in, an R&D project, we're developing something that's never existed before. So they are different.
Yeah, of course. I think if I would add is, so the PM methodology is a framework. So just think of it as like a skeleton, and everybody's their own skeleton, right? So when you're switching from construction to IT, you're kind of talking about the meat that you're putting onto that plan. So in systems, or where I'm at currently working in IT, we don't get heavy into budgeting, meaning I'm not looking at, Jamie works 8 hours a day, she makes X dollars, so to run this project that's going to cost a total of, X, Y, Z. But when you go to construction, absolutely, right? Because you have a budget to work against. You got to get vendors. You got to get contractors out there. So the skill sets that are needed are can be different. I'm not saying that all IT departments don't use the budget functionality. I'm just saying that the PMP or the PM work is all inclusive but you may not have to tap into every single one of those offerings.
And Julian, I'm going to direct this next question at you because you and I were visiting for a few minutes before we got started here. And we were talking about COVID and over the past year, how it's impacted some of your work and the environment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So as a PM, I need that interaction face to face because that's how I feed off of, I can feed off of that. I can see their emotions. I can feel their emotions. I can, realize what's going on. So in an email, it's hard to understand that sentence as being mean or if it's being nice or, if you put a bunch of exclamation points, then, oh man, that person's just way too excited. So it is a little difficult, but it hasn't hindered anything. The project still moves forward. We still jump into meetings. We may not do video conference. Sometimes we do. So work still gets done because, luckily most jobs are computer-based, so you can really be anywhere at any time. The people interaction is where you kind of want people to know, like, oh yeah, I know Julian, and I know he's going to stick to his word because we shook hands. He's very personable. He'll come over and he'll check up on me, or just things like the soft skills are key.
Perfect. And Dr. Zelbst, is the emergence of increasing use of automation in project management a double-edged sword? And do you think there can be too much automation?
Well, given Julian's response, yes, there can be too much automation because you do need that human interaction. But one of the things that's happening right now with business intelligence and analytics, there are certain softwares now that will look at everything a company is doing, and it will help you. It will pull out like resources that you need for projects, and it will allow you to do something that's called resource leveling, which means that you're not overburdening one resource. And that includes your human resources. So that's extremely important and very helpful. But I wouldn't rely solely on any kind of automation to do a project. I would want that interaction because you need to know where people are and what they're doing and how they're handling things. It's just like when you look at a project that you're doing in a classroom and you're working with your peers online. You don't really know what they're doing. They're telling you one thing, but maybe they are just embarrassed to tell you that they've not started on their part or something like that. And so if you can interact with them, then you're going to get a better feel for where they really are. And, they may be more willing to pull something out and show you and that, that kind of thing. So I think that automation is important, and I wouldn't discount it in the project management area, but I would also say that that human side, that's the key to being a good project manager is that human side, the communication, the relationship management, all of that is so important.
That actually goes right into the next question and our final question at that. Project management is known for its advanced technologies and tools, and we can call it the technical side. But tell us how important it is for a project manager to have emotional intelligence. And I know we've been talking about several different traits, but let's expand on this for a little bit.
Well, I think that number one, the emotional intelligence is being able to understand just from looking at a person, what they're feeling that particular day, or understanding where they're coming from. There may be more about them as an individual, the background. Project management is about the people. It's about getting the best out of the people that you possibly can.
Well,
yeah, I would agree. Sometimes like when you're working across countries, you know, if you can know the cultural differences and, you know, what the other culture appreciates, even just recognizing the time of year it is, like, hey, it's almost Chinese New Year. What are you guys doing? You guys gonna celebrate? You know, you just get that warm feeling of, hey, he's sincere, and not just straight cold-hearted of, hey, did you get this test done today? You know, you need to know that and be aware of what's going on. And if you sense something, maybe like, well, do you need assistance? You know, do I need to get another resource to help you, or do we need to offload some work? What can I do to help you be successful as a team member on this project? Because if you don't key in on that either, you don't want to set them up for failure, because then you're just setting up the entire project for failure. So you need to recognize some things.
The people will really be excited if you've taken the time to figure out what's important to them.
What makes them tick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to interject here and thank you both a lot for your participation today. The insight you provided is surely going to benefit our students, and the advice is very much appreciated. Also, thank you to Jamie for continuing your excellent moderation skills. To all the COBA students, I strongly encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay up to date with what we're releasing, join the MBA Student Association, and push yourself to engage with others. I think that's something that we learned here today is the importance of the emotional and the connection with others. So thank you for watching today's discussion, and as always, stay dedicated. Thank you.